What's up and welcome back to Ask Us Anything, Ask Dan Anything, Ask Brojo Anything. My name's Dan Munro, I'm confidence coach and co-founder of Brojo. Today we've got a question from my boy Luke, and this is a question that millions of people have had to face over the years and struggled with. Basically, how do I stick to my diet? How do I increase my willpower? How do I use that to increase my energy and my drive and my motivation in general? So I'm going to have a crack at this, but because you specifically asked about diet, the first thing I have to say is I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist. I'm not an expert in this, and I'm very careful to be humble in the sense that I'm not the person you need to be talking to specifically about diet, though I will talk about motivation. So I'm actually going to recommend, there's a friend of mine who runs a coaching business called Mindfoodness, and her approach to managing the way you eat, emotional eating, binge eating, maintaining a healthy body weight level and so on, and healthy body image is by far the superior to anything else I've seen out there. Her name's Eugenia. I'm going to include her link in the description below this video. When it comes to sticking with something, sustainability is the key. If you can't stick with something, it's probably because for some reason it's either unreasonable or unnatural. Okay, there's something preventing you making this easy to stick with, or at least doable. Or you're doing it wrong, essentially. So I'm not just talking about diet here. But I'm talking about if any of you find it hard to stick with something that's important to you. There are three main reasons why people fall off the wagon that I see when I'm doing coaching, and I want you to see if any or all of these reasons apply to you. The first, and I think the most powerful, is that you overwhelm yourself. I call this the Everest effect. It's where you turn a small task into climbing Mount Everest. You take this very reasonable action that anybody can do and you turn it into this impossible mission. And the way we do that is by asking ourselves for future outcomes that are just too much to ask, instead of asking ourselves for present valued behavior. We ask for future outcomes instead of present valued behavior. Now, what do I mean by this? If we come back to your diet example, I might be asking myself to lose weight. That's a future outcome, instead of asking myself to eat healthy for this meal or to respect my body today, which is a present valued behavior. So when we ask ourselves for future outcomes, automatically the pressure comes on. We're asking ourselves for more than we can achieve right now. If I ask myself to lose weight, I'm not going to be able to do it in the next 5 minutes. So I'm already asking myself for something that I can't do right now. It's already too big to accomplish. Okay, now I might want to lose weight, or losing weight might be an accurate measure of healthiness. It's not always, and you need to watch out for that. But rather than asking myself to lose weight, I can ask myself, hey, when I make lunch today, respect yourself. Choose healthy ingredients. Try to be healthy today. When I go to the gym, respect my body. Don't go too hard. Don't be a pussy. Do the right amount that feels like you're building your energy. I can ask those things from myself, and they're really doable. The thing is fear will trick you into asking for these big outcomes because it knows it will scare you off starting anything. It'll be like, go start your own business. You're like, oh, it's a big outcome. Instead of, come up with a business name today and then see what happens. Much more reasonable, present, valued behavior. So number one, if you're asking yourself for future outcomes rather than valued present behavior, you're already setting yourself up to fail. You're asking yourself for too much that you can deliver, and eventually you're going to rebel against that. Second, you're not managing external factors that impact motivation. You cannot be a self-sustained human being. You are always affected by your environment. You're always affected by everything else that you're doing. You can't compartmentalize, for example, diet, and assume that somehow you'll be able to eat right no matter what else is going on in your life. It's crazy and it's unrealistic. Odds are when somebody comes off the wagon with exercise or diet, it's not really diet and exercise that's the problem. It's they're not managing the health of their relationships. They're not socializing properly. They don't have a good morning routine that sets them up for the day. They fucking hate their job and it's unsatisfying and builds up stress. They have major confidence issues that they're not addressing. The reason you come off the wagon with whatever you're trying to stick to is usually got almost nothing to do with the thing itself. Okay, it's to do with everything else happening in your life. I learned this working with criminal offenders. I'd rehabilitate guys who are like drug addicts or compulsive thieves or whatever, but I'd only get to spend an hour a week with them. For the next, however many hundred of hours, they'd be spending around people who loved committing crimes and aggravated them and provoked them into committing crimes. There's no way I could do any sort of magic in 1 hour that would be more powerful than that environment that they're in. So understand, if you're struggling with your diet, take a helicopter view of your whole life and say, why is it hard for me to stick to stuff? Where do I make it hard for myself? What can I change and eliminate? And what do I have to accept or work around? And number 3, specifically for diet and the health industry, and I'm only talking from opinion here, not expertise, but my own personal experience and my opinion. The health industry is rife with unscientific garbage, okay? The health industry is very noisy with quick fix solutions and attempts to get you to buy shit that have nothing to do with what actually works long term. We know this because anything called a diet is almost definitely guaranteed to not work, and in fact it's going to have a negative reverse effect on you. You look into any serious scientific study into any form of dieting, what you see is a huge fail rate and people's final weight being more than when they started the diet in the first place, because most diets are unsustainable and unrealistic, and of course the people's mindset going in means they're going to end up binging on food, because it's not diet that their real problem is, confidence. There is some proven science that I'd recommend from my personal experience that's finally worked for me to maintain a healthy body weight. Okay? First off, intermittent fasting. Now, scientifically speaking, this isn't very good for women. Okay? It's worth experimenting with, whoever you are, but can be some problems with menstruation, things like that. But if you're a dude, the results are usually pretty solid. Now, there's some solid science out there. There's research and evidence and studies that you can have a look at and do the work yourself. But intermittent fasting, essentially eating 8 hours out of every day and going for 16 hours without eating, it's worked very well for me. I can kind of eat almost anything I feel like eating, and I don't put on a massive amount of weight. The next one is the Wim Hof method, which is something I'm just getting into, but cold exposure, mindset management, deep breathing exercises, all of this helps to get your whole body and your mind sorted, which of course is going to help with anything from motivation through to diet. And last off, if you're going to read any book on health, I recommend The 4-Hour Body by Tim Ferriss, because everything in there is really strongly researched and experimented with. Okay, he took thousands of people and tested out things and found results that worked for many, many people, that were sustainable over a long period of time and don't do long-term health damages. Okay, that's good for you in the long and the short term. So those are my thoughts on that. The first 2 points are the most important. If you ask yourself for impossible future outcomes, it's secretly fear trying to derail you, when you should be asking yourself for a good behavior right now, and that's the only thing you ever can ask of yourself. And 2, of course, if you're having motivation problems, odds are, if you step back and look at your whole life, you'll see where all sorts of emotional problems are coming from that you're not dealing with properly. Okay, instead of compartmentalizing your life into these different sections, see it as one great whole where everything affects everything else. Hope that helps. Look for the Brojo logo somewhere. I think it's about here. Click on that and then subscribe. Looking to boost the channel this year, so if you like what you hear, please share it around on social media. Do us a favor. If you really want to do us a favor, support us on Patreon so that we can bring more of the stuff to you as the year unfolds. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.